The Running Man by Stephen King. Quick book summary with spoilers. Ben Richards is a man trapped in a crushing reality. The year is 2025, and the world has become a grim, polluted police state. The air is foul, a chemical smog that chokes the poor in their overcrowded, decaying housing projects known as Co-op City. Richards is out of work, his body still strong but his spirit worn down by relentless poverty. His daughter, Catherine, is just an infant, and she is desperately sick with a deep, rasping lung disease, a direct result of the toxic environment. The free government medicine does nothing, and the sound of her struggling to breathe is a constant, agonizing presence in their small, shabby apartment. His wife, Sheila, has been worn down into a state of numb resignation, her hope completely extinguished. The need for real medicine, for a chance to save his child, forces Richards to consider the unthinkable. He must enter the games. The games are a state-sanctioned system of violent television entertainment designed to distract and control the impoverished masses. They are run by the network, a powerful, cynical corporation that has fused with the government. Richards, with his powerful build and a sharp, desperate intelligence hiding behind his coarse exterior, first applies to several of the lesser games. He is rejected from treadmill to bucks because the physical scan shows lung damage from his factory work. He is not the handsome, charismatic type they want. He is simply a desperate man, and his desperation is not yet entertaining enough. This leads him to the final, most extreme option, the running man. The application process is dehumanizing and brutal, involving a strenuous physical and a probing psychological test designed to find candidates who are both physically capable and psychologically broken enough to provide a good show. The host of the show, Dan Killian, is a smooth, calculating man who sees potential in Richards' raw, animalistic will to survive. He explains the rules with a calm, almost bored efficiency. Richards will be released into the world with a 12-hour head start. He must stay alive for 30 days. Every 20 hours, he must find a public video post and record a coded transmission to the network to prove he is still alive and to taunt his hunters, earning his family $100 new for each hour he survives. In return, the network will broadcast his location to the hunters, an elite, anonymous team of killers led by the infamous and chillingly efficient Evan McCone. Furthermore, the public is incentivized with a massive reward for his capture or death, turning every citizen into a potential enemy. If he survives the full month, he wins $1 billion. No one has ever come close. Once the game begins, Richards is flown to a random industrial city and set loose. His mind, honed by desperation, immediately begins working. He understands his only advantage is unpredictability and ruthlessness. He uses the small amount of fake seed money he is given to create a confusing trail, buying train and plane tickets to false destinations, constantly doubling back and changing his appearance. His first video transmission is a blunt, grim statement of existence. He is not playing for the audience, he is surviving for the money that is now flowing to his wife. His run takes him across a dystopian landscape. He learns that the public, whipped into a frenzy by the network's propaganda that paints him as a monstrous killer, is a more immediate threat than the distant hunters. He is forced to take a middle-class family, the Lauchlins, hostage in their own home. This encounter is a pivotal moment. He sees the fear in their eyes, but he also reveals the truth of the game to them, shattering their illusion of safety and turning them from obedient citizens into terrified, complicit witnesses to the state's brutality. He escapes their home just before the hunters arrive, leaving behind a family radicalized by his reality. Continuing his flight, Richards makes his way to the decaying urban core of the city, seeking anonymity in the chaos. It is here he stumbles upon a fragile connection to a nascent resistance movement. He meets a man named Bradley, who is part of an underground effort to sabotage the network's infrastructure. Through Bradley, Richards learns a terrifying and personal truth. The very pollution that is killing his daughter is a deliberate, controlled outcome. The industrial waste and airborne toxins are managed by the same powerful interests that control the network, a way to cull the poor and keep the population sick and docile. This revelation transforms his personal struggle for survival into a conscious act of rebellion. Meanwhile, the network, and Dan Killian in particular, are growing increasingly frustrated. Richards is not dying like a good contestant. He is too smart, too resilient, and his continued survival is starting to inspire a dangerous sympathy among the lower classes. The public relations narrative is slipping out of their control. Evan McCone and his hunters close in, using advanced technology and vast resources, but Richard's street-smart cunning and willingness to do anything, such as hiding in a garbage truck filled with filth, keep him one step ahead. The chase becomes a brutal war of attrition, with Richards growing thinner, more ragged, but never losing his fierce will. In a final, desperate move, Killian orchestrates a face-to-face meeting. He offers Richards a way out. The hunters will call off the chase. Richards and his family will be given new identities and a comfortable life in a safe, clean area, free from the pollution. All he has to do is stop running and allow the network to stage his death, preserving their authority. It is a tempting offer, a chance to save everything he has been fighting for. But Richards, looking into Killian's eyes, sees the ultimate cynicism of the deal. He understands that it is a lie, a way to neuter his rebellion and reassert control. More importantly, the revelation about the poisoned air has filled him with a rage that transcends his own life. He cannot accept a quiet peace for himself while the system continues to grind down millions of others. He rejects the deal. Knowing his death is now inevitable, he decides to make it count. In a stunning, final act of vengeance, he hijacks a transcontinental jetliner. He forces the crew to flee and seizes the controls himself, having learned basic piloting in his youth. He does not aim for an escape. He aims for the heart of the enemy. He turns the massive plane toward the network's headquarters, a towering skyscraper that symbolizes the entire oppressive apparatus. As the hunters scramble fighter jets that are too late to stop him, Ben Richards, a poor man from Co-op City, flies the stolen aircraft directly into the building. The explosion is cataclysmic, a fireball of final, absolute defiance. He dies not just as a contestant, but as a revolutionary, using his last moments to deliver a violent, unforgettable message to the world that sought to destroy him. Themes: the exploitation of poverty and desperation. The entire engine of the plot is driven by a system that coldly monetizes the desperation of the poor. Ben Richards is not motivated by ambition or greed, but by the basic need to save his dying daughter. The game's network, embodied by the calculating Dan Killian, identifies this raw desperation as a marketable asset. They offer him a cruel choice: risk his life for the chance at medicine and survival, or watch his family perish. The very structure of the game, with its small hourly payments that are a fortune to him but a pittance to the network, is designed to exploit this need, keeping him running just long enough to provide a good show before his inevitable death. Media as a tool for propaganda and social control. The network is the most powerful force in this society, using media not to inform but to manipulate and pacify the populace. Violent game shows like The Running Man serve as modern bread in circuses, distracting the masses from their grim reality and the systemic injustices that keep them oppressed. Furthermore, the network actively shapes narratives to maintain control. They transform Ben Richards from a sympathetic, desperate father into a public enemy, a monstrous killer whom the people are encouraged to fear and hunt. This propaganda turns the public into an unwitting extension of the state's police power, ensuring their compliance. The spectacle of violence and dehumanization. In this dystopian world, human life, particularly that of the lower class, has been stripped of its value and turned into a commodity for mass consumption. The public does not merely watch Ben Richards' flight, they are encouraged to participate in his hunt for a reward, reducing a human being's struggle for survival to a nationwide sport. This dehumanization is echoed in the cold, corporate language of the network executives, who discuss Richards' impending death in terms of ratings and public relations, viewing him not as a person but as a variable in a broadcast equation. Class warfare and systemic oppression. The novel presents a world rigidly divided by class, where the wealthy live in clean, safe enclaves and the poor are left to suffocate in polluted, violent slums. This division is not an accident but a deliberate feature of the system. The key revelation for Richards is that the pollution killing his daughter is a conscious, calculated tool of oppression, a way to cull the poor and maintain control. His interaction with the middle-class Laughlin family highlights this divide, as he shatters their comfortable illusions and forces them to witness the brutal reality upon which their society is built. Individual agency versus the system. At its core, Ben Richards' story is a battle for self-determination against an omnipotent system designed to strip him of it. His victory is not measured in survival, but in his relentless reclamation of choice. He constantly outsmarts the network's vast technological resources with his own street-smart cunning. The ultimate expression of this theme is his rejection of Dan Killian's final offer, a comfortable life in exchange for his silence and a staged death. By choosing instead to die on his own terms, piloting a hijacked plane into the heart of the network, he seizes the only power left to him and transforms his death from a spectacle into a definitive, uncontrollable act of rebellion.